we have patch notes for today for the new Hearthstone patch with some balance changes. So this is something that we've been expecting all week. They teased it, I believe, on Tuesday. And here we go. We've got some really, really important changes. Just hit Legend and Standard and can confirm that it was in need of some changes. So let's go over them real quick. We're going to go over them together. Just a note, I will only be covering the constructed changes here. I do not really, no offense to Battlegrounds, but Battlegrounds is not my mode anymore. I really don't play it very much. So, and I don't really post videos for it anymore. So if you're here, you're probably here for constructed stuff. So we're going to talk about that. Before we get into this, I just want to note, my regular viewers have probably noticed I haven't really been playing Wild the last few weeks. There's a reason for that, and we're going to get to that here in this patch. Wild is abysmal right now. It was in desperate need of some changes. So I'm very, very excited about this patch. So first up, we got what is obviously a standard change, but will also definitely impact Wild because this card is bonkers nuts, or was bonkers nuts. So Construct Quarter is going from 3 to 4. Their notes here, as you can see, it says Frost Death Knight is the best deck in Standard after the mini set, and Construct Quarter is the standout card in the deck and in other Death Knight decks. This change is both an acknowledgement of the strongest deck in the format and the strongest card in that deck. I 100% agree with this change. I actually am surprised they nerfed it to 4. I was kind of expecting a durability change, which I didn't think was going to be effective, but that seems to be the way they've been going with the locations. But I think this is a very, very good and a very necessary change. I think if you had nerfed it to 3 with just an extra durability, it would not nearly have done enough. This card is extremely toxic when you can play it on turn 2 on the coin. Frost Death Knight also has ways to generate extra mana. So a lot of times you could do this on the coin and then use the refresh 2 crystals to get a 4/5 right away. And that is just very problematic. So I like seeing this go to 4. I think this is a huge nerf to that deck without completely killing it. I will note I would have, after going like 72% win rate over like 50 games in Standard with this deck, I kind of was hoping to see a change to Frostworm's Fury. I think the play patterns behind that card are extremely toxic. I won a lot of games that I had no business winning because I just froze their board for 2 or 3 turns and then killed them. It was, I think that play pattern still exists within the deck, and I don't love to see that, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is enough to nerf the deck down a little bit. We will see. Next up, we got Goldshire Knoll. So Goldshire Knoll is going from 10 to 11 mana. Their comment on this was, before the rise of Frost Death Knight, Evolved Shaman was the biggest outlier in the format. This changes to keep Evolved Shaman in line after the adjustment to Construct Quarter. Goldshire Knoll is an important enabler for the deck's bad play patterns, and this makes those play patterns slower and less powerful, while still allowing Evolved Shaman to play with exciting new cards they got in the mini set. I like this change. I really do. The problem with Evolved Shaman was the null. Making a 10 drop, making Thaddeus on turns sometimes 2, 3 was extremely, extremely, extremely toxic and led to a lot of non-games where your opponent or the person playing against Evolved Shaman just didn't get to play the game because they died before they got to do anything. This doesn't really fix the interaction between the fish and big minions and Vol'jin, but I honestly don't necessarily think that needs a fix as of yet. I could see that being something that's a little too powerful, say, come rotation, but then Vol'jin's gone, so we won't really have to worry about it anymore. So I actually think this was the best change to make to Evolved Shaman. Null's also just kind of been a broken card the whole time it's been around. It's a 1 or 2 mana 5/4 with Rush most of the times in the decks that play it. It's extremely, extremely powerful, and with Evolves, it's just makes for a lot of turns where your opponent doesn't really, or a lot of games where your opponent really doesn't get to do anything. So I like this change a lot. I think them nerfing the top 2 decks with Construct Quarter and Goldshire Knoll is going to open up Standard a whole lot, and I think that's a great thing. Next up, we've got changes for Wild. So the 3 most toxic decks in Wild: Quest Mage with Time Warp, double it with Parrot, double it with Bran, Potion of Illusion to get them back at 1 mana, make a bunch of more Parrots, take infinite turns basically until your opponent is dead. Was one of the most unfun decks to play against. They had Solid Alibi, which they didn't even really run. They had Ice Block to basically just, get several extra turns, give them way too much time, and then eventually just kill you with this combo. If you didn't somehow negate the birds from their decks, they just won. And I love to see this deck kind of taken out of that shell, because before that, Quest Mage was still a deck, but it was a lot more varied and it was a lot more fair. A lot of the times you could play around what they were going to do. They would time warp. Maybe they would time warp with Archmage Vargoth or something like that, to kind of go infinite, and that was kind of cool. But this made it way too easy. You just played Bran, you played all the coin makers. They could go off early as turn 4 or 5, a lot of the times, and just kill you. So love to see this change. Think this is a really good change. And the cool thing about this is they did this to a standard card in a way that didn't impact the deck that plays it in standard. The standard deck doesn't play any cards that cost 5 to duplicate with Parrot. They're playing 6, 7, 8, 9 mana cards, 10 mana cards to duplicate with Parrot. So this doesn't impact standard at all, and I love that. Next up, we got Pillager, and this is a huge change. So Pillager went from being 6 mana, combo, deal damage equal to the number of other cards you played this turn, to 5 mana, combo, deal 2 damage to a minion for each other card you've played this turn. This completely kills this card. So Pillager Rogue was a deck that used Scabs and Foxy Fraud to basically, and the Spirit of the Shark / Brand to sort of just go completely infinite, play 30, 40 mana's worth of cards. Sometimes it felt like, with Potion of Illusion and everything, and just completely annihilate your opponent. Sometimes super early, like turns 3, 4, with the nut draw. So this is I feel like Pillager was always going to be a problem card with Scabs. Like, a lot of people talked about them changing it to 7. I personally don't think that would have been enough. So a lot of times you're slowing the deck down, but you're not stopping the deck from doing its thing. And all the other cards already cost 0. What does it matter if you have to pay 1 a couple times for Pillager? So I didn't love that suggestion for a change. I think this is a much better change. Just take the card out of the equation. Now, if they want to combo with Scabs and all that, they have to find another win condition, or you're adding a lot of steps to it in order to make this an actual kill condition. So I like this change a lot. Pillager, I think, was probably my least favorite card or least favorite deck to play against, because they had this, plus they had evasion, they have Cloak of Shadows to give themselves stealth. They had so many ways to just extend the game and not die and not let you deal damage to them and then just kill you. So very uninteractive. It was like playing against, they basically played solitaire every game. So I love them taking this problematic deck out of the format. Same thing with Cataclysm. So we got Cataclysm up next. It's getting nerfed to 5 mana, and now says destroy all minions, discard 2 cards. This, wow, like this I did not expect. I expected a mana nerf, but they also extremely nerfed the effect. So you might think, oh, discard your hand, isn't that worse than just only discarding 2 cards? But if you haven't seen Disco Lock, they don't want their cards. They want them discarded so that their discard effects go off. With the new like Soul Barrage and stuff, they would duplicate that, Expired Merchant, and then just kill you with a Cataclysm as early as turn 4. And it made for, again, non-games, solitaire games, where your opponent is literally just playing by themselves, trying to kill you with Soul Barrages and stuff. And this completely eliminates the ability to do that. It makes it much more of a board control tool that also can help the deck. I think this kills the deck. It takes it from being a tier 1 deck to probably meme status again, where it was for a long time. Discard's kind of a funny deck where it's either complete meme or it's just utterly broken. So I think this is a good change. I like seeing this card nerfed. And those are 3 of the most toxic decks in the format now, almost completely nullified, I would say. Like, the Parrot nerf completely kills that version of Quest Mage. The Pillager nerf obviously kills that deck. The deck was built around Spectral Pillager. And this one extremely, extremely dampens their ability to combo off. It makes it much more of a mid-range deck. So I like this change a whole lot. One last thing before I finish up here. I did want to note, they said at the top of this, for a while we've been discussing potential updates to the mode. In this patch, we're making changes to help curb some of the mode's negative play experiences. We don't view these changes as exhaustive, but we are working on some more long-term updates that we're excited to share once they are more solidified. They kind of touched on this. Matt London posted on Twitter talking about how they had a wild summit at Hearthstone headquarters to kind of go over what they wanted to do to help make the format better. And I think this is great. My preferred format overall is Wild. A lot of people probably don't know that, because as long as I've been streaming, I've mostly played Standard. That's a kind of a facet of 2 things. One, I do like Standard, and Standard's a more popular mode, but also Wild has just been in a really bad place for a really long time. It'll go through streaks where Renathal made it pretty fun. And if you probably noticed, my Wild content went up a lot during the pre-Renathal nerf phase of the last year, where Renathal was at 40 health and you could actually play decks in Wild that were fun and interesting and not die on turn 4 or 5 every game. So I kind of am interested to see what they do. I think the best change for them to do would honestly just to make Renathal back to 40, but I don't know that they'll do that. It sounds like they have bigger things in mind than that. So I'm excited to see what they do for Wild, how they make it more exciting. Maybe seeing it get a little bit more support. Maybe we get a Wild only set, like a very small mini set for Wild only. That would be awesome. But until then, I love these changes. I'm excited to see where they take us. So thanks for stopping by the Peaceful Sea. Hope this helped inform you a little bit about what we're going on, what are my thoughts, and I will see you later.